This is Nicholas Hunter. Wanted to talk to you today about the new feature introduced with FileMaker 16, which is the recognition and dealing with JSON file. So JSON file pretty much are JavaScript files. They are text files that you get when you call a certain service online, and so pretty much when you use the insert from URL script step, you get a response in a text format, and inside the text format you have a kind of a mini database coming up. And I really, if you want to start dealing with JSON file, I really recommend you to go online and to visit the website JSON.org. Okay, and then you will have kind of good understanding on what it is, and it's pretty much kind of a mini database with records and related records, and it's not that complicated. It was kind of complicated before because FileMaker wasn't wasn't recognizing natively those formats, but now we do. And I wanted to show you something here, how difficult it was before. And when I was building the starter solution at FileMaker, I had to deal with this format without any native recognition of the file, and I had hard time to deal with them. And I want to show you what we had to do before. We had to create a custom function here, and you have those free custom function working together, and so it was kind of with a complex interaction, and you had to pretty much pass information and do it by yourself, when today it's much more easier. And I want to show you how it works, and I try to narrow down the complexity of the thing, and I try to make it simple for you to understand. And you will see that it's not that complicated. It's just something. There's things you need to know in order to get started dealing with those files. So this is what you get typically when you call a service online. You get this kind of format, this kind of text, and this is scary. This is very scary. Say, oh my gosh, how I can deal with those things, right? How I can recognize. But FileMaker did a good job here, and I want to recognize the how well they handled the thing. And so I want to show you what we do with the things. How you can clean up things and make things easier. First of all, let's clean up these things. This is very complicated, so we can clean up this and make it more understandable. So this is very easy. We have scripts here that I already made the script, and so let's start with the format JSON. We have now in FileMaker we have let me show you. We have pretty much multiple JSON function here, calculation function, and as you can see here, we have many of them. Some are more important than the others, and let me walk through with you on this. Okay, you have the delete element, the format element, the get element, the list key, list view, and set element. Some are important when you receive a file, and other are important to when you want to create a JSON file. So, but for now, we want to receive information, and we want to treat the information we receive. So first of all, what we do, we use the JSON format elements, that way, and you point to the JSON field. Okay, you have the JSON field here, the field where you have this text here. So, and you said, okay, I want to format this field with this function here. And here, this is what you get when you use this. You click here, you run the script to set the field, boom, and you get this. Instantly, now you can read it, right? It's a huge difference with before. So now you can understand, and you have a better vision of what's going on here. So as you can see, it's a hierarchical kind of a database view. You know, you have outputs that related to those two, that related to concepts. So you have this, you have multiple what's the name, embedded chunk of data. And so if we go down, you can see you have another chunk here with different thing, and then you have another one here, and you know, and you have different level here. You know, when you hear, you see you have different level with the increments. So it's incremental. Okay, so you have the outputs that the main in the list, right? Then you have that the second one, that the third, and the fourth. So now that we have a much more you know, understandable what's the name, file, I want to use the data viewer as, or let's say, a JSON file debugger, because FileMaker introduced a brand new calculation dialog here, and we can now use it as a calculation debugger. So let me show you how it works, and then with the data viewer, you can understand much more your own what's the name, your own JSON file. So let's say, for example, I want to dig inside this fields, this JSON file. So let me put that here, and let me close this, and let's open the debugger again, put that on the side. Let me clean up this. Okay, so now okay, now we can have, because of what I want to do is to show you, this is the minimum of the window. Okay, so we have both here. So you have the file here, you have your JSON information, and we want to dig inside the JSON information. So here, first thing you have to do is to get what we call the list key. You know, you go there, you get the list key. It's very easy. You point to the field, and then here, the first step, you put double quotes. Double quotes now gets you the two main list key, right? So you have outputs, and somewhere down you have the stats, okay, the status. So now that I have the two main key, I want to explore what inside their outputs, right? So outputs, I want to explore, and then here we have what we call a array key, okay? So this is an array, and so you have, this is kind of like a record. When you enter a value, and then it's the result of the value is 0, or and you will see multiple numbers, that means you are in kind of like a records. So you have to select the one you want, and here we have only 0. We have one record only, so we do 0, and then you can see here now you have multiple other lists. You have created, add, data, ID, input, model, and status. So this is here created, add, data, and down, if you go down, what's the name? If you go down here, you will see you have ID, input, model. You see? Okay. So now you understand what's going on here. So you have all those keys here. So let me go back here on top. So what I'm interested in, I want to go to the data. I want to go data because then I want to access to concepts. So what I'm doing here, I'm typing data, and then inside here, you can put a dot here if you want, or you don't want it. You know, you separate with dots, it's better. You want to go to data, and then now you have access to the concepts. So I'm going to concepts, and then oops, here we have something like 20 records, right? The result is 20. So this is those numbers here, right? So now that I have access to this list here, you know, now that I have access to this list, I can easily now deal with the information, because let's say now I want to change this in JSON what's the name, JSON get element. Okay, so I'm changing this, and I want the get element thinking. So you can see here when you change when you change the function, you get a different results, right? So now when I get this, when I get element, actually you get the data inside. You get the data starting from one of those header here. Okay, so I want, with the get element, I'm not listing the keys anymore. I'm getting what inside the key, and here you have the different data, the data inside the key. So that's the get element. So now, okay, I have the list of all of those things, but I want now I want to get the first record. So we see you have one record. Each record, when you change the number on top here, so this is here. We are here. You have to watch here. So when you change here, you see you change 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. Okay. So you select one of those chunk of data. Okay. So this is with the number. So we arrive here, output data concepts, output data concepts, and here which one you want. I want the record number 3. If I'm getting the record number 3, I have this. The ID is main, you know, this is the record number 3. And so you have the information you want. Actually, number 3, the record number 3 is here. Sorry, is this one, because the record number 1 is 0. This is considered as 0. You know, the first record is 0. When you get 0 here, you see this is this record here. The first record start at 0, not 1. Okay, this is important to know. So if I'm going to the if I getting the number 3, number 3 is a false. So as you can say here, you have its main. The ID start with IE, MIH, you know, this is theirs. The name is many, and dot 97 as a value. So you get the chunk here. Each chunk you get it, you know. So now it's okay. I have this, but I want the name, for example. I want the name. I don't want all of this. I want the name. So what you say? You say, okay, I'm selecting the record number 4, and I want the name. Boom. You have the name. It's many. And if you change it, now you say, okay, 2, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. You see, you change the what's the name? The records. You change the data. So because you got the what's the name? You got the you know, the chunk you wanted, you know, by the number. So now we know that. So you see the importance of the data viewer. Data viewer is very important because it's very cool. So the data viewer is very important here, and it's very easy to dig inside the JSON file. So now that I got the concepts, right, with the numbers here, etc., when you dig inside the chunk, now you can deal with it. So let's say now I want the list. I want the list with all those all the names here, right? So how you do that? First, we have here a script that I already built. So let's walk through the script. First of all, what you need to do, you need to get the list of the keys. When I say the list of the keys, you need to get this information. You need to get this. When you're here and you say, okay, you want the data and you want the concepts, you want the list of this. You want to know how many chunks do you have, because here I have 20, maybe sometime you have 2, 3, 5, 10, 30, you don't know. But you need to know, you need the list of this, because you need to know how many records you have inside this chunk. You know, you need to know that, you know, this is very important. So in order to get this list here, you need to use to create a variable with the list key, and then you have the JSON list keys function, right? And then you get the list. Of course, now I need to count the value. I need to know the value of the list keys, right? So I need to know how many value there's inside this, right? So you use the value count function, and you point out to this variable, then you know it will count the values and tell you how many things. Then you use a loop. The loop is very easy to use, and the most important thing you have to know is you need to use the counter. You need to counter, in order to know in which loop you are, right? You need to count them. So it's very easy. You have a set variable and you have a counter variable, and you say, okay, the counter variable is the counter itself plus 1. So each time the loop starts, it takes whatever it's inside the counter already and add 1. For example, at the beginning there's nothing, there's 0, and then what it's doing is adding 1 at the first one. So the first one will be 1, the second one will be 2, 3, 4, 5, and etc., etc. So this will count how many loop in which loop you are, and then you need to know when to stop the loop in order to not having those ever-ending loops, because if you don't have a stop action, it will never stop. So and your script will perform forever, will run forever. So that's the reason why we need to know how many value we have in the JSON file, because then we can say, okay, when the value counts, when the counter equal the number of value we have, that stops. That means you don't have to continue. For example, here there's 20 values in the key. It has 20 values. So when the counter arrives to 20, it stops because that's the last one. Then you have here, you need to get the value. You need to get the value of this list. You need to get this. Let me show you. You need to get the value 2, 3, 4. So you need to get this, and in order to do this, in order to get this, we are here, right? Value. You say, okay, you use the get value function. Okay, you point to the list. So this is the list here. This is the list. The get value point to the list, and the counter we say which one you want. For example, if I am in the first loop, the 0 will be selected. If I am in the second, the 1 will be selected. In the third, the second, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. So this will get this number for each loop, right? So when you're done with this, you have this. You get the value. Here we are, and we get this calculation here. Right? So here is very simple. Here what happened here? When you have a loop, and if for each loop what you want to pile up a list. So you want the first on the first place, the second one, then the third. Okay. So each loop, what you say, you get whatever is in the result already. You get the list, whatever is in the results. So the get element name variable, this is a global variable. You say get whatever is inside already, from previous loops, right? Get whatever is inside and add the new data. So you add this, and this is the get element that is getting to you the names based on the value. So let me show you where we stand here. Remember when we were here and we say we had the the get element. We have the get element, and we say we want the number. See, remember this number 2, for example, and we want the name. Okay, here we are. Okay, so this is what we want to do. We want to make this number coming from a variable, making this a calculated value. So in order to get for each record, we want the name. So here we are. So instead of putting the number here, we have the calculated value here, the value number that is coming from this variable here, the value number. So then for each loop, this will pile up into the variable with piled information. Okay. So what's happened when we run this script, right? So let's run it. So first of all, let me show you the data viewer, and then we saw the current here. And let's run it. We run, boom. You get here, what's the name? A variable. And inside the variable, what do you have? But you have this, right? It's very easy. You have a list, right? So now I said, okay, I want the name, but also I want the value here. No problem. They're very easy. You have the same. This is exactly the same calculation. Just here, instead of getting the names, you change for values, you know, because that's exactly the same thing. Before we had name, now we have values. So what happened when I run this stuff here, you know, I'm going to data viewer, I'm seeing values. Okay, I have the values. So I'm pretty confident because it's coming from the same chunk of files. So the two variable, the first record here will be in relation with the first record here, etc., etc., etc. You know, each value is matching because it's coming from the same chunk of data. So now that I have this, so what I want to do, I want to create a list. I want to create records based on those things. So it's very easy actually to do that with FileMaker. So let me show you how to do that. So first of all, let's create a new table. We say, okay, I want the JSON elements. Okay, JSON element. I'm creating this. I'm creating an ID just for the future results. So this is a serial number. This is an ID, and I want the names. That right? That's what we want, and we want the values. You know, the value, this is a number. So I have the name, oops, sorry, I changed it. Name, sorry. And value, text, number, great. Okay, so I have those two fields. So what I'm doing right now, I want the field, I want to transfer, you know, I want to transfer whatever is inside those two variables. I want to transfer that into a record, right? So let's go here and let's present that as a, what's the name, as a table view. And you see you have both variable here, right, with the data, and I want to transfer those things. So you go to the manage database, and you say, okay, I want to transfer the names, you know, get element names into this one. So you go here in the calculated value in auto enter, you know, you click here, calculated value, auto enter, and you said, okay, I want, you know, get the value, you know, get value, it will get each row, each line into the, from this variable. So get element, sorry, name, okay, get element name, and I want the value. What is the value? I want the get record number. So each time you create a record, it will increment the record numbers. So the record number 1 will get the value number 1 here. The record number 2 will get the value number 2 here. So I'll copy this, and I'm doing the same for the value. So here what I'm doing, I want to go is exactly the same. I want to point to the other variable that is value. And I said, okay. So now I want to create automatically. I don't want to create records manually. I want to create automatically. So how you do that? First of all, you do create a new script here, create a script, and you say create records. Okay. So you create records based on those two things, right? So what you need to know? You need to know how many values you have inside the variable. So you pick one of both. For example, we pick one, and you say, okay, set variable, okay, and the variable is value count. Let's call it record count. No, we can say value count better. value count. Okay, and the value count, what is value count is, it's value count, the function value count of this one of those. Let's say, let's get this one, get element name. So I want the number of value inside this variable. Then again, I'm using a loop, and I say counter. You remember that's exactly the same thing we did before. Set variable, and the variable is counter, and this is counter plus 1. Oops, forget the 1. And now what I'm doing, just something very simple, a new record, right? I create a record, and then I stop, exit, stop. I stop, I exit the loop when whenever the counter equal the value count. If you don't do that, it will create record forever. It will never stop. So now that I have this, very simple script. You see, okay, in five lines we have this. So let's run it. What is going to do? What is going to happen? Boom. Here you have what happened is automatically you create records, right? The number of records you need with regard to the number of values you have in the variable, and you don't have to have a bunch of set field here. Just what you do, you use this technique of auto enter calculation here, and you get based on the record elements, right? Based on the record element. So you will say, okay, yeah, okay, Nick, that's cool, but now if I'm adding a new one here, if I'm creating a new list and I want to add records, it won't start with the record number 1, it will start with the record number 21. Yeah, but what in that case, if you want to reuse the same script to add on top of them, what you do, okay, you do this. You say omit multiple records, you remove the dialog, and the calculation of this is get found count. Doing this, each time you run the script, it will omit the current set of records, showing 0 records, right? And then you start with a fresh list with the record number 1. So let me show you. Let's debug this. So I'm going here, then I'm omit the record that is 20. Oh, okay, sorry, I forgot something. You need to go. You need to go to the first record. Go to records. Go to record first. Okay, you need to go to the first record. Sorry for that. So let's debug this. So I'm going here and omit. So now I have 0 records, and now I can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc., etc. Right? So I can do this. Boom. So now, as you can see, if I'm showing R, show R, see, you have this. So let's continue. I want again, and again, and again, and again. See, there's no problem here now. I have 120 records, right? I'm piling up. I'm piling. So the trick here is to just do this thing here. You go to the first record and then you omit the found count. Then you have a fresh new what's the name, list here. So this is pretty much what I have to say about the JSON thing here. So to let you know, I wasn't dealing with JSON file a lot, so I wasn't an expert in JSON, and I found it very easy to understand with what FileMaker did. And you can go to the help. The help of FileMaker is kind of useful for the JSON. It's very simple. So I hope this will help you to get started with JSON and enjoy it, because it's extremely powerful. And hopefully you get started today thanks to this recording. Thank you very much, and talk to you soon.